Yo, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes. I'm back this week. Had to take a last week off because of an illness, but I am all better now. Everything's fine. Don't you worry. I'm just a couple of days into being 49 years old, so this is all new to me. Feeling better and older than ever before. I don't know exactly what that means, but we are going to be talking about professional wrestling here for a couple of hours or so right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes if you're watching this on demand, or listening to this on your favorite podcast application of choice. Because yes, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show audio feed is available out there if you want to just carry me around and have me in your ears instead of your eyeballs, which is absolutely fine. My mother feels pretty much the same way. You can do that, and you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, a 5-star rating on Spotify. Those things help out a great deal, just like leaving a like on YouTube and maybe even subscribing to the channel. That stuff helps out a great deal. So thank you everyone for being here and for joining me. Recently I've started writing again. I've got back into the habit of writing articles about professional wrestling. It just never stops for me, does it? But if you want to check those out, my work is available on voicesofwrestling.com. I'm a contributor there now, and it's, I feel kind of good about it. It's nice to get writing again, and it's nice to be up there in one of my favorite spots for wrestling analysis and previews, reviews. I really enjoy the website, so I'm flattered to be there as well. I wrote 2 articles as we are right now. You should go check them out. Voicesofwrestling.com is another place you can get into some Mr. Warren Hayes Show business. You can also get into a lot of Warren Hayes Show business if you join the Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description. You can do that. You can also become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. If you do, you get access to the members only streams. Going Broadway is what we call them. I did a free preview last Friday. If you want to check that out, should be available on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. So you can check that out. Otherwise, just become a member. Jump right in. Come see us on Fridays. That's where we usually do it, where we talk some more about pro wrestling. Very interactive. Chat a lot with the members who come join us. And it's also a good way to show some support for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show as well. So there you go. Got a busy night talking reviews. We're reviewing things. Elimination Chamber 2023, New Japan Battle in the Valley as well. Lots of great stuff, great matches happening up and down, and of course very newsworthy events throughout it all. So review topics, it all sort of mushes together. Trust me, this is a good show. I'm glad you're here. You don't want to miss it. Let's get right to it. Let's start picking stuff back. Why don't we just start with the weekly wrestling inspection? How about just do that? Oh, it's going to be a fun one tonight, folks. We're going to talk about New Japan Battle in the Valley 2023. It's a lot of reviews tonight. New Japan Battle in the Valley 2023. But before we do that, we got to go with the lead. Don't bury the lead is what they tell you in journalism school. WWE Elimination Chamber 2023. It occurred a few days ago, February 18, 2023. I don't know if you heard, it was in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. No, I was not there. I did not go to. Look, here's the thing. There's no. I don't try to hide this. I don't try to obfuscate it. I think I'm pretty upfront. I'm low on the WWE program these days. I am not going to go pay $125 to go watch a show which I will probably not get all that excited about, right? So no, I was not there at the Bell Center. Bell Center's a great arena, though. Record-breaking crowds and all that stuff. The business of Elimination Chamber was the business of Elimination Chamber is pretty good, actually. If you want to believe the press releases, and I think it's fair. I think it's okay to get behind it. Just today, WWE released information saying that Elimination Chamber breaks all-time gate and viewership records. Let's read this little press release. WWE today announced that the 2023 Elimination Chamber, which emanated from the Bell Center in Montreal, became WWE's highest grossing and most viewed Elimination Chamber in company history. Viewership of the 2023 Elimination Chamber saw a 54% increase versus the previous record set in 2022. If you are regular viewers of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel, you will know that these numbers are all that, 54% increase of from what to what. You will also know that we must also consider that from last year, Peacock subscribers in the United States doubled in amount as opposed to 2022. So there's 2 times the audience, potential audience anyway. And what is a view on Peacock? How long does a view last? I'm not going to go through this all again. I think I feel like I talked about this just 2 weeks ago with Royal Rumble. So we're not going to talk about this again, but what constitutes a view? A view on YouTube is 30 seconds. Nielsen considers a view on streaming to be 2 minutes. So what is a view? How many people watched it? It would be much more interesting to know what is the view time? What is the view time percentage? That would be a much more telling statistic than, hey, 54% more people watched it, kind of thing. So yeah. It also marked the largest gate ever for any WWE event held in Montreal and the largest gate in the history of Elimination Chamber. Well, we are not surprised that this is the biggest gate in the history of Elimination Chamber because Elimination Chamber is a B show, and this was running in a fairly large arena here in Montreal. When I say here, I mean like 3 hours away from me. But it is a fairly large arena, filled to capacity, and we also know that the average ticket price is for WWE live events these days is on average higher than it was over the past 3 to 4 years. Even pre-pandemic ticket prices were lower. Right now, everything is more expensive and they're selling out. So, I mean, on a business perspective, good for them, right? There's nothing you can say. People want to buy premium tickets to go see WWE shows. That's significant. That's good for them. It's a good indicator of a good key performance indicator is what I'm trying to say, which matters for the company because a company exists to make money, and it's a good indicator for investors where they're like, well, we're putting our money in a thriving business, so that all works. In addition, 2023 Elimination Chamber broke the all-time event merchandise record and generated the highest grossing Priority Pass fan experience packages for any non-Big 5 premium live event through WWE's partnership with On Location. Again, not surprised. How many people in Montreal wanted to have a VIP moment with, have their picture taken with Sami? What are you even talking about, right? Elimination Chamber sponsorship revenue was up nearly 300% versus 2022. But again, it's like pandemic, so on and so forth. These numbers should be high. They are all very high, ridiculously high. I mean, look, if WWE was doing the opposite in this in this environment, in the live event environment right now, where everyone is just excited to be able to buy tickets and go to shows again, because there is that effervescence right now wherever you are in live events. If WWE was doing the opposite, then that would be a problem. On social, content featuring WWE superstars Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn generated nearly 20 million views across WWE's social platforms, which again, I don't know, 20 million across what are all the social platforms? YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. That figure doesn't necessarily blow my mind. That doesn't exactly blow my mind. But that's just me. 20 million on a video. Oh shit. All right, now we are going to start reviewing the show itself. Now, again, if, you know, I know there are, I kind of feel like I'm going to be a little bit against the grain here. I feel like I'm going to, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of elusive. I feel like there's a lot of wonderful praise being levied upon the Elimination Chamber, wherein there is really one really good match on the show and then a mind-blowing event, and the rest just kind of happened. And this was the same pattern that we had with the Royal Rumble as well, where you have one standout match and then the rest kind of happens, and then there's the anchor that pulls everything together, that everyone gets excited about, and they put it on at the end, and then everyone sort of leaves the show feeling this was the greatest wrestling event of the year, when in fact, show started off with the Raw Women's Title #1 Contendership Elimination Chamber match, where Asuka defeated Carmella, Liv Morgan, Natalya, Nikki Cross, and Raquel Rodriguez to face Bianca Belair at the WrestleMania show. And I'm sort of flabbergasted. I did not expect it. I was going into this match, and anyone who was hanging out in the Discord while we were watching it, they had another good reason to join the Discord. We watch all of these things together. And I was saying, Raquel, my money's on Raquel. They like Raquel a lot. You can tell by the way she's booked, the way she's protected in certain circumstances. I completely saw, you know, a push for Raquel Gonzalez. I did not think that they would rekindle any faith into Asuka, but, you know, clearly the makeup change and the slightly more aggressive Kana leaning. This is not Kana, by the way, because if we had Kana in this ring with the likes of Liv Morgan, Liv would have been crying all the way backstage, because legitimately no one in that match could have handled a full-blown, let's say, 2010 Kana just wrecking face. So we're going to continue calling her Asuka. My point being is that we don't know. Like I thought that they were just going to do the cosmetic change, move along kind of things, like, hey, hooray. But no, they're going to give some life to this. They had a little standoff on Raw. We have Liv and Natalya who start this off. Natalya, every time she comes to Canada, Canada's own. Remember, her uncle is Bret Hart. I'm like, all right. You know, Natalya being from Canada and putting her on Canadian shows that's the hard sell, right? Because Natalya is fine, don't get me wrong. I think she gets a bum rap when it comes to her contributions to the women's division and working. I think she's a better worker than a lot of people let on. I just think her personality is dead on arrival. I think that's her main issue. That's the main problem with her. She's never been, it's been a long time, let's put it that way, since she's been pushed seriously, and you know, she's been jobbed out so many times. It's just a question of, well, it's kind of hard to get behind her. Oh, but she has this accolade, former the SmackDown Women's Champion, and you know, she doesn't get the credit she deserves. Okay, sure. It still doesn't make me more excited to be there, to see her there, and be like, get up on my feet just because she's Canadian. You know, and especially in Quebec. Anyway, let's not get into those politics. Nikki Cross, when she gets in, she has the big bump of the women's Elimination Chamber. She she body presses off a pod, and then she gets thrown through one. She's also eliminated first. No, I misspoke. The really great spot, not no joking, no kidding, is Liv Morgan hitting a sunset bomb off of a pod. That was cool. But then we get eliminations. You know, Liv gets she gets eliminated second by Asuka and Natalya. It takes 2 people to take out Liv Morgan, folks. And she didn't tap. She passed out. Gotta protect. You only live once. Carmella eliminates Natalya. Then they pin. They being Asuka and Carmella eliminate Raquel Rodriguez. Because I was convinced she was going the whole way. And then Asuka does locks in the Asuka lock for the win. I thought it was fine. It was okay. Again, I think it's interesting to see Asuka back in control like this. But we're gonna be very honest with each other. You know, I don't. I continue to maintain that there's no North American company right now that really does well with their women's division for multiple reasons. I really don't. I don't think there's any one women's division that is spot on good. You know, like from top to bottom, where it's like week after week, it's like, yep, okay. And the way they're treated, the way they're booked, and so on. And in the case here, we just have to be honest with ourselves and say that the women's division on Raw is cold. And we're going to go a step forward as well. I think Bianca is cold. Bianca Belair is cold, and it's no fault of her own. This is all booking, right? Because booking Bianca Belair should not be complicated. It really should not be hard. She is a natural babyface. She is extremely charismatic. People just like are immediately attracted to her. You know, they gravitate towards her. She has a presence. She has that star power that they enjoy. Plus, she's a freak of nature when it comes to athleticism. She's fantastic. It should not be hard to book Bianca Belair. But this company has a tendency to overthink things. I don't think the Bayley feud had turned out to have any dividends. I think the Bayley feud would have been really hot had Damage Control truly been established beforehand that they were this invincible force in the women's division, which we all kind of speculated that's what they were going to do, and that they were going to do that, right? And it turns out, Damage Control just turned out to be a whole bunch of nothing. Being jabroned almost immediately out the gate, lest we remember the women's tag team title tournament and the finals to that, which were rectified a week later. That's just sloppy. And the Alexa Bliss feud stunk. And don't sugarcoat it. It was bad. Ended with a bad match. Bianca's cold. She is not coming into, this is her third WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken. And her first 2, she was coming in guns blazing. She was Super Saiyan. She was giving off so much heat. Now it's like, oh, okie doke. But again, I was having a discussion with someone recently, and I was like, about this, and they're like, well, about this and about something else that we're going to talk about. And I am going to use this point a couple of times leading into this. Who cares? Who cares whether your talent is hot or not going into WrestleMania? The tickets are sold. The tickets are sold. It's not like there's 10,000 tickets sold in a 50,000 seat stadium. The tickets are sold. So who cares what you put on the show at this point? Right? So the gamble, the long-term gamble that Vince took to the gamble that Vince put into making people want to gravitate towards the brand instead of talent themselves it's been paying off. People will see WrestleMania and they'll buy the tickets without wondering what's on the card because they're like, yeah, this is going to be great. All our favorites are going to be there. But going into WrestleMania, you look at this as a wrestling fan, Bianca, super cold. And they've got a couple of weeks to heat this up, her and Asuka. But, last night on Raw, when they did the thing, when they had the standoff, it ended with Asuka dribbling shit out of her mouth and looking weird. And Bianca going, where I think Bianca should continue to just be, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm Bianca Belair. And Asuka should be like, no one is ready for Asuka. And just be like, okay. Anyway, I thought the women's, like I said, the women's Elimination Chamber match, I thought it was fine. It was okay. The work was all right. Some people shine more than others in these circumstances. I am not a fan of the Elimination Chamber, and I never have been. I think they're very heavy-handed. And I had proof again tonight, not tonight, but on Saturday, watching the Elimination Chamber. And again, we're going to talk about it later. Yeah, what are cage matches in WWE for, really? What are they for? Because the true violence that comes from a cage match is never really put forward, is never really realized because PG, because sponsors, etc., right? And we have another good example later on as to why cage matches in WWE are just like whatever. Anyway. Bobby Lashley defeated Brock Lesnar by disqualification, because that's what you want to see. When you see, a marquee mid-card match, right? Not a main event, but a match where people go like, hell yeah, Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, let's go. So what do we get? What happens here? Spear, F5, F5, spear, F5, F5, nut shot. I'm like, is someone playing WWE 2K? Because that's what it feels like. Spamming all the power moves and then finishing with a low blow, blatant low blow that the ref sees. And then we hit the bricks. It lasted under 5 minutes. I'm a little disappointed because, look, there was no, I wasn't expecting Brock to work 20 minutes here. Wasn't even expecting him to work 10. But these Haas Brock Lesnar sprints are a lot of fun. And I'm like, if he's going toe to toe with Lashley, who can absolutely keep up with him, we could have something fun here. But instead, we're just trading finishers, and I'm like, okay. And it ends with a nut shot. I'm like, what? We really felt we had to protect everybody here? Why are we doing this? I don't know. Like that sort of took the wind out of my sails. I'm like, just get out of your own way, WWE. It's fine. Lashley, Brock, they'll all survive. Everyone survives a Brock Lesnar defeat, because Brock for eons and eons has been booked as an invincible monster. So even if you lose, you'll be okay, because it's Brock. It's when you beat Brock that it's a big deal. But losing to Brock, you're fine. You're okay. You'll survive. You won't lose your spot. I don't know. Did y'all hear the rumors that, or at least it's not necessarily rumors, right? It's that Bray Wyatt was on SmackDown accompanied by Uncle Howdy. And Uncle Howdy and him are now, they're a thing now. They're a pair. Howdy's his manager, his valet. Don't call him a manager. His advocate, his special counsel. What? Anyway, and he was out on Friday and he said, whoever wins this match, I'm going to challenge them, something like that. And I'm completely sincere with you right now. I am at my most vulnerable and true right now when I say that I am looking forward to Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt, because I want to see how Brock Lesnar deals with the lore. And I want Brock Lesnar, I want his name immortalized in lore. I want it all. How can you, look, even if you're not into the Bray Wyatt spooky shit, there is a level of morbid curiosity at the idea of Brock versus Bray. And I'm not even talking about the match. I'm talking about the build. I'm talking about, spooky shit and Brock running around the Firefly Funhouse and, box-like structures and shit and, goop leaking from places. You know what I'm talking about. I want Brock to deal with that. I want to see how Brock composes with that. Beth Phoenix and Edge defeated the Judgment Day. This is one of these things where I feel like I'm on an island. I thought this match was bad. And a lot of people giving it a hell of a lot of praise. It was so much fun. I don't see, like, that was not fun for me. Let me go see here. When I was preparing my notes, the cage match had this match rated at 7.07. It's about the same, in the same vicinity, 6.97. And I didn't think this was great at all. I thought this was a waste and sloppy at times. And look, what I wrote in my little notebook here, let me read it out to you. Let me find the page. You're not Tony Storm and Willow Nightingale. You're not the Royal Rumble. You're not Shota Umino. You're not Adam Page. Where is it? I want to read the exact note. You're not Tom Lawler and Homicide either. Okay, there we go. This is what I wrote. This stunk, no notes. I got nothing for you. I got nothing on this one. And the one thing, and I know this is overshadowed by all things Sami Zayn, right? I am completely in agreement that, the Sami Zayn discourse hath indeed taken over everything. Okay. But, the one thing, the one thing that practically no one is talking about, and I think it's a crime, is that Beth Phoenix did not win this match for her team. Oh, but Warren, yes? Warren Rhea Ripley did not take the pin. It was Finn Balor, so she stayed protected. You didn't hear what I said. I said Rhea Ripley did not win the match for her team. That is what I'm saying. In this match here, between these four individuals, this mixed match challenge match, there was one person, only one out of the four as of Saturday night, that had a scheduled WrestleMania match. Not only a scheduled WrestleMania match, but a WrestleMania match to win a championship. the SmackDown Women's Championship. Only one of them did. And that person is not picking up the victory, is not staying hot leading into this match for some reason. For some reason that will probably become clear to some folks, but to me will still become a mystery. For some reason, Edge had to get the pin here. Okay. That is an interesting turn of events. Why did Edge need to score the pinfall victory here? Well, you see, Warren, if you watched Monday Night, no. You're not bringing storylines and angles into this. I am talking basic wrestling booking. You have a hot prospect, someone who is over with the audience, that they enjoy. You book them in a match at your biggest show of the year for a title. Guess what you should be doing? Keeping that person hot, not protecting her. Keeping her hot. There was one person in that match. If you want to go down the protect people lane, there was one person in that match that was designated to take the pin. And it was Beth Phoenix. Because Beth Phoenix is a part-timer. She's got no heat, nothing to bring to WrestleMania, nothing. I thought the finish here was obvious. Rhea beats the shit out of Beth, gets a couple of shots in on Edge because that's her shtick, and does the riptide on Beth twice. Send her to the hospital. Have Beth do a fucking stretcher job. Put this woman over. Keep her hot. She wasn't even involved in the finish. She was taken out elsewhere. Next thing you know, she's got fucking, Dominic and his noodle arms all over her. That's on the camera shot after they lose, and she's going. This company does not know how to make stars and keep them. We don't understand. Why? The fans. It's the fans. They're smart fans. It's so fucking simple sometimes to just do what makes sense. Having Edge get the win, who cares? Because Edge has to pose with Beth. Beth was a perfect vehicle. Look, fantasy book Warren for a second. You have Rhea, like I said, beat the absolute living daylights out of Beth Phoenix. After the match, she continues the beatdown because the rest of Judgment Day are taking care of Edge. And she just stretcher jobs Beth to the outside. Then you can have Michael Cole and Corey Graves put on their serious voices. Oh, folks, we will keep you updated on the status of Beth Phoenix, but man, I can't believe what Rhea Ripley just did. They can do that. You keep giving Rhea these matches, squash matches, where she's just beating the shit out of it. Not everyone has to do a stretcher job. That's not the point. But she's ready. She wasn't ready, 3 years ago, whenever. Now she's ready. She's proven it. She gets to WrestleMania. She beats the tar out of Charlotte. And who is her first defense against a returning Beth Phoenix? Oh my God, a match with heat. Of course, Rhea defeats Beth Phoenix. That's not the issue. But if you booked a little farther than your nose, this is the kind of things you can come up with. And I'm no genius. But I think everything I laid out here made sense and makes for a compelling story. Goodness gracious, we love our stories in pro wrestling, right? I don't understand. And this to me is not quite as egregious as the Sami thing, but it's on the same level. Where it's like, what are we even doing? Pluggo, nice to see you and welcome to the chat. Pluggo of the Between Two Beards podcast. Always good to see you, pal. Then we had the match of the night, United States title elimination chamber match, where Austin Theory successfully retained his title against Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, Montez Ford, and Seth Rollins. This was a blast. This was fun. It was a blast. I thought it connected on all the right levels. Everything made sense. Except at first, when Austin Theory is playing the shit heel and he's doing comedy spots, I thought they had gotten rid of that. I thought Austin Theory was all ruthless aggression now. Please, someone correct me, because I, as you know, am a casual WWE viewer. The viewer that WWE wants. I'm one of those. So maybe there's something that wasn't properly explained to me in a video package that doesn't quite help me connect with Austin Theory doing comedy spots, whereas I thought he had a change of heart and he was all attitude now, ruthless aggression. Anyway, Seth and Johnny Gargano have a pretty good opening stretch. They start off the Elimination Chamber. Damian Priest gets the action going, though. When with the comedy spots and the hoo-ha and all of that, once that's out of the way, once Damian Priest hits the ring, now the action gets going. We get a superplex Falcon Arrow by Seth. Bronson Reed does a double Samoan drop on Rollins and Johnny Gargano. Montez Ford has an absolutely explosive entry into the Elimination Chamber. And, everyone is saying, he stole the show. I thought it was fantastic. He definitely had all the attention on him. Did he steal the show because he did the crazy ass spot of diving from, a hanging position from the top of the cage? It's a spot and it's a crazy ass spot. I promise you, none of you in June will have remembered this spot. I promise it. No one will be saying, when people start talking, we're at the halfway point, what are your big moments of the year? No one is going to say no one is going to say Montez Ford dingle dangling off of the top of the Elimination Chamber. It was cool, don't get me wrong. But sometimes you got to pump the brakes. You just got to cool, but enough's enough. But he did look very good, and I don't want to minimize what he did, because look, he knew what kind of spot he was in this match. He's not an idiot. He hears people talking. He's not a dope. He's not a doofus. He's not a maroon. He knows people see single star power in him. I think there is. I wonder what his ceiling is, because I don't know what his ceiling is, quite frankly. But in WWE, he absolutely has star power. So he jumped into this moment and he just bit right into it. And everyone was extremely generous with him as well. Like, yeah, let's get you over. It worked. Get an assistant poison Rana by Rollins and Gargano on Bronson Reed, who still believes that he's going to get his rubber match against Kazuchika Okada in WWE. I mean, I had dreams too. Montez Ford does his spot like I was talking about. Everyone gangs up on Bronson Reed to get rid of him out of the Elimination Chamber, and that I thought made sense. It was good. He was clearly he clearly had the advantage, the strength advantage over everyone. Rollins and Gargano fight on the pod. On one of the pods, Johnny Gargano reverses a power bomb on the pod into a Hurricane Rana, which was super dope. Razor's Edge by Damian Priest pins Johnny Gargano. We get a blockbuster powerbomb combo by Seth Rollins, who pins Damian Priest. Dives by Montez, a frog splash, a really great sequence he has there. Goes for the frog splash. Theory gets his knees up. There's a stomp by Seth Rollins. Gets covered pin on Tez, and they do an angle where Tez has to be Tez. I like to call him Tez because we're pals. We're not. I like to pretend. I like to make believe that I can use little nicknames for wrestlers like that. Hey, Tez. What's up, Tez? Makes it all feel more familiar. Makes me look, important. Oh, he's on a short name basis with these people, yeah? Yeah. So what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so they're doing an angle where Montez got seriously hurt. Oh, I do hope Montez is okay. He's selling, he's fine. But then Logan Paul runs in, right? Because the cage door is open and all this bullshit, and he takes out Seth Rollins. And this is why I was saying, what are cages for in WWE? It doesn't matter. And we've seen this. Look, we've seen this even with Hell in a Cells. People get in. It doesn't matter. Cages don't matter in WWE. There's no reason for them. Austin Theory lands the four-town downtown A-train downtown for the win. Whatever the fuck it's called. A-train down, A-down, train down. I didn't see, I'm not even kidding. What is it called? I can never remember. The A-train down. The downtown train. I can't believe I'm doing this. What is Austin Theory's? Not Goldberg. My key binds. The A-Town down. A-Town down. Thank you, Carlos. A-Town down. That rolls off the tongue. Because he likes to hang out in on the public transport. I don't know. Anyway, he retains. As far as it being a title match, I think it's kind of dumb. But then again, you guys and gals and non-binary pals know that I really don't like multi-person matches for titles. Might as well just do it one-on-one. Just keep it simple. So, especially in this environment with the cage, and I don't get it. I really don't. One thing I will say about the hype to the Elimination Chamber this year that I feel like they've changed. I didn't hear much of the old hype for the Elimination Chamber was like, people who have been in the Elimination Chamber have had their, so violent and destructive. They've had their careers shortened, all that, the careers shortened thing. They're skewing away from that because it makes sense. Because no one has ever had their career shortened because of the Elimination Chamber. It just hasn't happened because they're all too soft in it. It's structures that exist that people can do spots off of. That's what it is ultimately. You could replace the entire cage and just put gymnastics setups and they'll tumble and fall off of shit. That's essentially what an Elimination Chamber match is. So at least on that front, I'm kind of happy they're not doing that anymore. And that was the show, everyone. No, of course not. Of course not. I know a lot of you want me to talk about this. Roman Reigns, undisputed Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, defeated Sami Zayn. Stands at an 8.31 on the cage match. And I think it is a lower score than that. I think this wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a bad match because the audience made this match special, made it feel like a big deal. Everything leading up to this made this match feel huge. You know, when they try to sell you, and you know, when wrestling promotion commentators say, big match feel tonight, they didn't have to say it. They didn't have to shove it down your throat. This was a textbook big match feel. This is what WWE managed to build up until this point was lightning in a bottle. It was a perfect storm of circumstance, happenstance, good planning, favorable luck, and on top of it all, supremely talented individuals to carry out this vision. The last few months with the, you know, since the Royal Rumble and even a little before that have just been impeccable stuff for this angle. And the company that tells us we do stories, we do movies, pal. And then you're kind of like, okay, I get it. This connects, this makes sense. Sami comes out to a roaring welcome. You know, if there was one thing when I was watching it from home, of course, and Sami came out, the one thing that when he came out, I regretted not being there because I would have loved to compare the reaction he got to the one CM Punk got when he made his return at the United Center. Just for shits and giggles. Because even to the, and I promise you, to this day, the pop at the United Center is the loudest thing I ever heard. The loudest thing I ever experienced live. So I would have loved to just be there and be like, oh, okay, we're on this type of level. But look, I wouldn't have come here and started breaking it all down and say, well, you know, it was a loud pop, but it was a 0.37 decibels less than what Punk got. Like, you know, that's not what I'm talking about. I just would have liked to be there to sort of soak it in and be able to just be like, well, anyway. Sami comes out, raucous ovation. They have Roman come out first, which you couldn't do any other way, right? It just made sense. When the match starts, people are on their feet. They want this bad. Sami lands a topic on Hilo. Crowd lights up. But Roman Reigns gets early on in control. And he monologues. And there is nothing you can do that will take me out of a match faster than exposing what's going on. I am not a piece of bread. I can understand what's going on in a wrestling match. This isn't a Lars von Trier film. It is pro wrestling. I understand what's going on. So Roman doing exposition and slowing the pace and taking me out of the fight, cooling it down, is not something I'm into. And he does this a couple of times in the match, and it fucking annoys me. And I was like, I was praying, knocking on wood, whatever, saying to myself, I hope he doesn't do it because he doesn't have to do it here. Imagine feeling like you have to have your wrestler in this environment in Montreal, where Sami Zayn has been built as a potential underdog hero, that you have to explain why this match matters. It's ridiculous is what it is. And it's an affront to your intelligence as a viewer, as a fan. And there's no two ways to go around it. This isn't adding to the story. It's making sure, hey, by the way, we got to make sure these morons at home understand what's going on. Anyway, they fight on the floor. After a Roman Heat segment, Sami Zayn throws a lariat. Crowd goes nuts. The Hope Spot gets interrupted on the turnbuckles, but Sami hits a sunset powerbomb. Roman Reigns fights back, lands a Uranagi. Exploder in the corner by Sami Zayn, who then runs into a Superman punch, but then after hits another Exploder in the corner, and he lands a Superman punch and a hell of a kick, and a kick out by Roman Reigns. Crowd is on pins and needles. Roman Reigns starts the big comeback with a punch on the floor. He charges Sami. Sami moves out of the way, and Roman drives himself through the barricade. Everyone had that on their bingo card. You know, Roman Reigns going through barricade might as well be the free space in the middle of the bingo card. Blue Thunder Bomb by Sami back in the ring. And then it begins. We get a ref bump. And the visual pin as Sami Zayn lands the hell of a kick on Roman Reigns. Crowd chants along, counts together. Jimmy Uso breaks into the country and tries to end it. And then immediately a new ref arrives. A new ref that could not have not seen what just happened. It wasn't like Jimmy is there, does the shit, and then they start waving a new ref down. Go back and look at it. The ref arrives like a few seconds later. He was already rushing down the ramp while Jimmy was still attacking Sami. There is no way this ref did not see what was going on, yet he comes in to do a count. But Sami kicks out. Sami hits a hell of a kick on Jimmy. But Sami eats a spear. I tried to help you. I did this for you and your family. We continue on. Because we're morons, right? Remember that. We're fucking idiots. So we get another ref bump. And already you can hear go back and listen to it. Already you can hear the Montreal audience losing steam and going, this is fucking stupid. Paul Heyman gives Roman Reigns a chair. Jay materializes in the ring. Roman Reigns wants him to attack Sami Zayn with a chair. And then Roman turns his back to Jay, to wink, wink, nudge, nudge, all these Shield references and what Sami did, all these throwbacks. Roman Reigns takes the chair away from Jay because Jay is conflicted. Why did Jay get in the ring in the first place? He just stood there. He didn't do anything. He just stood there and moped. Is this like the eternal conflict? The inner monologue? The inner monologue, which is in fact being shoved down our throats? He didn't do anything. All he did there was to eat a spear from Sami. Or a kick, I don't remember, but Sami took him out accidentally, which allows Roman to get the win because the first ref is back conscious and counts the 1, 2, 3. Roman Reigns wins to dead silence from the Montreal crowd. I hope that my brothers and sisters from Montreal who live right down Auto Route 20 from me, I hope they have all learned at this point in history that WWE hates Montreal and will always hate Montreal. After the match, Kevin Owens comes out to sort of drive the bloodline away. And you know how this would have, and even Kevin Owens' return was a little tepid because people were like, man, we're getting cheated out of this again? Out of a feel-good moment with a hero again? Edge is not our hero. Sami Zayn is our hero. Brett was our hero. We like Edge. Edge is fine, but he's not a hero. You know, you get what I'm saying here, right? So even when Kevin Owens ran to the ring, again, Kevin Owens, another legend in Quebec, Canadian pro wrestling. Tepid reaction. People are just shrugging. And WWE is cutting to the audience to get the reactions, and everyone's going, you know, and nothing, you know, that's kind of like a caricature. That's something that's so over the top. You know, like the guy when Brock broke the Undertaker streak, right? You know what guy I'm talking about. Or the Miz girl, right? You know what I'm talking about. Nothing like, she was like that. People with sincere, legitimate disappointment on their faces, and they're putting that on their television to show, hey, look at how distraught everyone is. Look at, we could have done something cool, but we decided to do the opposite. We got to stick to the plan. No use in listening to the audience. Hey, we're going to build and build and build. We're going to try and create a moment, but no, we're going to take it away from you because fuck you, that's why. Because our plan was to put Roman and Cody in the same ring at WrestleMania, and it's been that plan for months, and we're not wavering from it. This is why I cannot endorse anyone who comes to tell me Triple H is a great booker. A great booker would have seen this situation here that was developing with Sami Zayn and would have said, we're flipping the script. We're trying out something else. We can't just leave this go. We got to try something else. We're going to have Sami win. And then there's people that say, well, if you have, Sami he's a local hero. It's just a Montreal thing. No, it's not just a Montreal thing. It is not just a Montreal thing because Sami has been adored throughout this entire bloodline stint. I would argue that the bloodline story would have been dead in the water last summer had it not been for Sami Zayn accidentally falling into this. Let's not pretend that this was some stroke of genius. Let's not pretend that this was some long-term plan. Sami was supposed to be this was supposed to be a comedy bit, but it got over and it kept getting over, and it made this story stay significant because that shit had been treading water and it was about to drown. So why not pull the trigger? And a good booker would have done that, would have recognized that the audience would have been behind it. So it's not just a local thing. Every quarter hour that Sami has been on ratings wise, on top of it all, if you want to get some metrics into this, his quarter hour ratings have all been high because people have been tuning in to watch that specifically. It ain't Lacey Evans who's been drawing numbers on WWE TV. Sami has been a godsend for them in this period. So again, what I'm getting at is that a good booker would have looked at all this information, would have seen the crowd reaction and been like, look, we're going to go bold and we're going to go for the big swerve for WrestleMania. And it's not even that big a swerve because this is what people want. This is what the fans want. But he didn't. Trips continued down the plan because he got to stick to the plan. That's a Vince thing. He's been well raised by Vince at this point. Well put together. So I'm telling you, sincerely, there is no way you can look at all this situation and say, what a goddamn great booker Triple H is. And there was no risk for them to do this because, as I mentioned earlier, the tickets are sold. You could put any match on WrestleMania this year. It doesn't matter. Your tickets are sold. WWE flaunted it a few months ago, talking about the high sales of WrestleMania. What are we even doing? Like there was no reason to not do this, if only give them more buzz, get more people excited about it. But there was no reason. There's no reason for them to do it. Nothing. You saw how people got excited when Cody and Sami stood in front of each other in the ring a couple of weeks ago. People wanted this. Anyway, there has been so much said and broken down in regards to whether Sami should be the one. And I talked about it. And in my preview, I didn't even do a preview to the Elimination Chamber, did I? No, but we were talking about it on the way, right? Because I was sick last week. But we you know, the build towards it, we were talking about it. And I've been saying this since WrestleMania last year. The man who will dethrone Roman Reigns is Cody Rhodes. It was always going to be Cody. Did you see the entrance he got on Raw last night? Did you see the entrance he got on a Monday night? I was looking at it and was like, how does anyone doubt that this was the guy? This was the handpicked, chosen one by Vince at the time and Triple H continuing down the plan. To be like, this is the guy who's going to dethrone Roman. There was no doubt here in any way, shape, or form that this was going to be him. Any way, shape, or form. So we get to the point. We get to this point, and it's like, what? So we get to this point where everyone's wondering, well, maybe Sami has a chance. Sami never stood a chance. Not in the vision that WWE has for, not in the vision that WWE has for their champion, for their big brand, for the guy carrying the top belt. Cody, as you have seen you've seen his media tours that he's done with AEW in the past, but particularly in WWE, he handles himself gracefully in front of media. He knows how to answer questions without diving into things and seeming that he's giving a profound answer, a deep answer where he's connecting things, but really he's speaking words. Like, he's a perfect PR guy. He's good looking, charismatic, like I said, expresses himself really, really well. He's perfect in media situations. He's confident. He's on top of things. He's not going to flub anything. He's a pro. And this has always been Sami's Achilles heel. He cannot be what Cody is. The suit looks like $1 million, looks like a pro, looks like an athlete. I'm sorry, but I've been telling you guys and gals and non-binary pals this for weeks, and I've been telling you about Cody for the better part of a year now, that this was always going to be the guy. And even in the chat right now, There's the question is that Cody isn't gonna beat Roman, but I don't know what I don't know what I could bet of any significance that Cody is beating Roman, that this is going to be a full circle moment. I don't know what to tell you at this point. Because if there's anything at this point that has to make sense, it is the breaking down of the bloodline, that they're all imploding. What do you think is going to happen this week, right? Roman's going to be backstage and he's going to be all mopey and silent mad, and he's going to say, Jay, what were you thinking? Why didn't you do right by me, Jay? You were supposed to be there for the family, Jay. Are you really with us, Jay? Or are you with your boy, Sami? Because I don't know anymore, Jay. Which is a retread of like 3 cycles of this fucking story. Where does Jay's loyalties lie? We're back to this. And then on top of that, right, when Kevin Owens was about to attack Paul Heyman, what was Paul Heyman saying? I've always liked you best. Wise man. You have to explain something to me, wise man. Why were you, my wise man, telling Kevin Owens that you always liked him more? Where's your loyalty? I bet you 15 Canadian rubber bucks that is exactly what's going to happen on Friday this week. Because the seeds have been set. Everything is falling apart, and it's going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn that are going to beat the bloodline. They're going to beat Jay and Jimmy, and Roman is going to lose, and then Roman's going to go take a vacation. This is exactly what's going on. I believe that unconsciously, WWE fans wanted Sami Zayn to win so bad because they like him so much that they did not want him to get lost in the shuffle again. Because Sami has always been well liked. His popularity is beyond anything that he's ever experienced so far. Don't get me wrong, but he's always been well liked. Now they're afraid that he might get lost in the shuffle again. Because look, the matter of fact is that WWE has trained everyone's brain, every one of their fans' brains, into believing that only title holders matter. If you're in a program with a title holder, you are significant. You are the center of attention. Your program lasts, I don't know, 2 to 3 PLEs at this point. 2 to 3, depending who you are. Sometimes it's just 1 if you're Cesaro. Then you get set right back down to the mid-card. Sometimes just back to catering. Until it's your turn again, if your turn ever comes again. Because another young prospect may come up and take a spot in a program. And this is not new. What I'm saying here, I'm not breaking down any barriers. I'm not, creating something out of thin air, some fresh new observation. WWE has been doing this for years, and the Roman stuff has compounded this. It's only made this more significant that anyone who faces Roman never gets elevated. They just get pushed back down. And isn't that what storylines should? Shouldn't storylines do the opposite? You could keep people hot even if they're not winning a title situation. Look at what happened with Drew McIntyre. We had one of the best matches in WWE last year, an exciting main event at the Clash at the Castle. Good match, well worked. Shenanigans abound. Same thing as usual, but people believed it. What's Drew doing now? Drew McIntyre, former WWE champion, pandemic champion, who did a fantastic job with no crowds. It's bananas to me. So what is the point of storylines if people don't get elevated? What is the point if Sami Zayn at this point wins tag? Let's think about this a little bit. Once Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win tag team gold, what's next for them? A feud with Alpha Academy? With the Viking Raiders? No one else is hot. For a company that prides itself in making stories, we tell stories. They have an awful hard time paying them off. But hey, Roman is such a legendary run he's on. Because this is what matters, right? Look at all the names he beat. He's beaten Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers on some of the all-time greats. Look at this name list. Pull up all the names. Such a legend, such an awesome list. A legend. This is another thing. You know, WWE has told us for so many years, wins and losses don't matter. Bruce Pritchard himself on his podcast said wins and losses, they don't matter. Until they do. Until the minute you start talking about matches, about Roman and his matches. And you can absolutely make a counter argument that his matches aren't that spectacular. That this legend of a reign he's been on isn't all that mind-blowing. And for that, look, apologies if you're listening to this right now, but if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, because the video's there on Spotify too, I'm going to pull up a little something here. Look at this. Look at this little graph here that was directed to me. Reddit user named Tom Garrity who put this together. A little spreadsheet regarding Roman's wins. As you can see, the spreadsheet goes right up to Royal Rumble. It did not include the Sami Zayn match. But basically, you see the breakdown here. I think here, let me adjust the graphic here real quick, because I think we're missing a little bit of information. There we go. There we go. That's a little better. So, as I said, what we have here is all the ways Roman has won his matches. All of his defenses, from Jey Uso, Clash of the Champions 2020, all the way down to the Royal Rumble 2023, which is 27 separate defenses. As you can see on this spreadsheet here, there are only 8 out of those 27 matches that were, quote unquote, a decisive victory. Ergo, one that Roman won without interference, chicanery, use of illegal objects, ref bumps, nothing, just a straight up wrestling match. There was only 8. Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, Big E, Goldberg, thank God, Matt Riddle, and Logan Paul. Logan Paul. Just absurd stuff when you look at this graphic. The number of low blows that were used, the interference by Jey Uso or someone else. Most of the matches include some form of interference. It's absurd when you look at this and say, these are not quality wins. Sure, he's defeated Finn Balor twice, but one of the times the wind broke, the ring ropes broke. He beat Brock Lesnar, sure, low blows and interference and, the fucking, the payloader, whatever. Solo Sikoa at Clash of the Castle. It's ridiculous when you look at this and you say, this is not the stuff of legend. This is not exciting. When you look back on it and you know, well, these matches were kind of shit, weren't they? Yeah, they kind of were. But, if you're a WWE fan looking at that, you're probably just shrugging and you're going, well, wins and losses don't matter, Warren. It's all about the moment. See, this is what you're going to tell me. And this is the great dichotomy here that exists, and where most WWE fans will tell you wins and losses don't matter, but then they're going to praise Roman's wins. They're going to say he won so many matches, but I'm told wins and losses don't matter. It's the moments. So even if he lost, only if he won 8 times straight, all these wonderful memories that we're going to have about Roman, all the, war games and all this stuff, with all the bloodline stuff, that is much better. That's what WWE wants. Yet we are going to talk about inevitably all the people he's defeated and all the people and the number of wins he's had. This streak that he's on that he hasn't been pinned since 2020 or something. This is the dichotomy that exists in WWE among fans. They want stuff to be really, really good, and they want us to get on board with it. Look at all these wins. But then when you take a step back and you start absorbing it and you start saying, look, objectively speaking, this isn't spectacular. Well, they're like, oh, wins and losses don't matter. But wins and losses absolutely do matter. It's a part of what's getting Cody over because he's not losing. And this is, that's usually how a push works. It's usually how a push works. You want someone to get over, have them win. All in all, that was my review of WWE Elimination Chamber 2023. An okay pay-per-view that had one really good match on it. Everything else, good, okay to just bad. That will be, again, not unlike the Royal Rumble this year, that will be fondly remembered for one thing. Yet when you get into the nitty-gritty of it, you're like, okay, there wasn't much substance to this. Should we talk about, just really quickly, the press conference? No, I'm not getting into Ariel Helwani, because I don't care that much, frankly. He can do whatever the hell he wants. But, the one thing that I will say is Ariel Helwani's, he's mask off now. There's no wondering, right? There's no, there's no questioning on what side of the fence he's on. He's not objective. He's compromised, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't call him a fraud. I think, whatever. That's a whole other discussion that really doesn't interest me all that much. But all I think that we have to look at now is go like, hey, you know what? He's been gotten to, and there you go. He cannot be regarded as a reliable, objective source. And I'm okay with that. Instead of trying to pretend to be something else, it's fine. Whatever he wants to do. No, what I want to talk about is at the press conference. I was very thrilled to see good friend of the show and pal, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. Here we go. It is the WrestleNomics infomercial on the MrWarrenHayes show. Once again, follow Brandon, follow WrestleNomics. Brandon was there and asks a non-kayfabe question to WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Levesque. Not, why are you so great? Nothing like that. He asks him straight up about the sale. Asks him a question about the sale, and he says, I'm paraphrasing here, but he asks Triple H, are you on what side of the fence are you on in regards to the sale? Do you approve of it? Did you approve of it beforehand? What are your thoughts? And this is what Triple H answered. Quote, depends on who's buying, I suppose, what the offer is, what the outcome is. I stay out of it. That's not a cop-out answer. I have the greatest gig in the world. I helped, in a small way, create the magic we did here tonight. And to me, it's the best gig on the planet. As long as we get to do this, as long as we get to create it the way we get to create it, as long as we get to do our jobs and get out there and put our passion on display, as long as our talent is allowed to put their passion on display and what we do, I'm good. It is what it is. A lot of people said that's a non-answer. Shouldn't have asked that. Look at the nothing answer that he gave. Of course, he's not going to answer. He answered the question. I applaud this. This is the kind of questioning that I'm here for. This is the kind of questioning that we should be getting more at these press conferences instead of, so hey champ, how does it feel to be back in Portland? Because here's the thing. How many times are we going to get a crack at a high-ranking executive in WWE, member of the board of directors? How many times are we going to get a crack at him to ask him questions about very real things happening in the company? It's not as if Brandon is digging up dirt. It's not as if he's, asking him about shit that happened in the 1980s, how, stuff about the Ring Boys or whatever. You're like, wow, this is kind of out of left field. No, there's a sale going on. Triple H, you are an executive of the company, plus a member of the board of directors. What do you think about the sale? And anyone who listened to that answer and went, that was a nothing burger, did not listen to the answer or is not reading the transcript properly. I stay out of this. So Triple H is on the record saying he is not involved in the sale in any way, shape, or form, which is a little weird because he's on the board of directors whose job is to make sure that shareholders' interests are maintained throughout all of the company's operations, including a sale. And you can absolutely argue that he's saying here, and I completely agree with it. Look, Vince came in to take care of it. Vince is majority owner. I stay out of it. I'm just staying out of the old man's way. Absolutely. And that's the answer he gave. And he's on the record saying, I stay out of it. Okay, let's get these corporate people get on the record in regards to these things that don't just affect the company, that affect stockholders and people's livelihoods. Not just the talent, the people who work at the Titan Towers, WWE corporate, whatever it's called now. As long as we get to do this, as long as I get to create what we do, I'm good. As long as I get to do it, I'm good. Again, he's on the record saying, I'm happy as long as I'm doing this. And he says it is what it is at the end. I don't want to, I don't want to dive into this because clearly Trips was not prepared to answer a non-softball question here, because all that the press conferences have been doing since they started doing them have been lobbing softballs. What a great evening, Triple H! You are a creative genius. Tell us about your process. That wasn't a question, but it's things down that line. When are you coming back to Ottawa or whatever fucking bullshit? But he gets one real question about things that are very serious. He wasn't prepared for this. He wasn't ready. You could tell. And he's like, look, you know what? Basically, what Triple H said here is, I'm doing what I love to do, and as long as I can keep doing it, I'm happy. This will be a quote that will be revisited once the sale is completed and all the cards fall into place and we see what the next step for WWE structurally looks like. Is it a sale? Are we going private? Endeavor, someone else, the Saudis, whatever. Vince involved, Vince not involved. I'm good. It is what it is. It is what it is. Is usually, and I'm just going, like I said, I don't want to psychoanalyze this. But usually when you say it is what it is, it is a sign of letting go, right? That there's no point in fighting whatever's happening because this is bigger than you, right? Right? You can be upset that your you can be upset that your corporate job slashed 5,000 jobs and you were one of those. But then you go, well, it is what it is. That's what corporate America is. It is what it is. I don't like it, but it is what it is. I have to accept it. There's a bit of letting go. I think it's interesting that he says it here. It is what it is. Maybe he doesn't want Vince around. Maybe he doesn't want this sale. Maybe he just wants to hang on to whatever he has. But clearly there are forces here that are away from his control. And he just has to live with it. And whatever happens, happens. Que sera, sera. It is what it is. Battle in the Valley 2023 was a pay-per-view that happened this weekend as well, on the same day as Elimination Chamber 2023 from San Jose, California, in the San Jose Civic Center. New Japan Pro Wrestling put on a show in North America that had some implications. There's interesting things to talk about, things that aren't really interesting either. I enjoyed the show overall. I think it was a good build to the very end. I think there were some very, very high heights, no terrible lows, maybe things that just were like, but we got to straight out the gate say, this show started late, like 3/4 of an hour late, because of technical difficulties on the streaming side. And this is not the first time that New Japan of America has had these issues, but I do believe that this is like the most egregious and probably one of the most visible, because this was Mercedes Moné's return. This was her first big match since leaving the Fed. So there were probably more people watching this, complaining about it, than at any other time, because usually it's just us dorks. But in this circumstance, we had up and down and all around Sasha fans and who were just around and just wanted to strangle someone. So the show started off a little odd, and everyone, I felt like, the pre-show was just littered with tech issues, and it was what it was. It was just like top to bottom, and took them 45 minutes to get this fixed before the main show. So when Kevin Knight, Kushida, the DKC, Volador Jr., Adrian Quest, Josh Alexander, Mascara Dorada, and Rocky Romero all got into the ring, they really worked to try and get everyone elevated, try to get the energy levels back up and going, yeah, let's fucking go kind of thing. So the match was all right, like good work, nothing spectacular. It was fine. 8-man tag in 10 minutes, it is what it is. Haha, there we go again. Hey, Will Davis, thank you very much. William Davis, member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate the sentiments. Very much. New Japan Strong Openweight title match. Kenta defeated champion Fred Rosser to become the new Strong champion. This match really didn't do anything for me. Work was there. Fred Rosser is very good. But, again, I'm not... I don't think this is a controversial take. We were talking about it on the Discord, and I felt like it was received with a bit of shock. But I don't think Kenta is the worker that everyone makes him out to be anymore. I think we have fond memories of Kenta. This isn't 2004 kick demon Kenta. He's in a moment where we know it now. It's clear his body has taken a beating. His wrestling style, the way he did things, it was inevitable. So he's slowed down tremendously. It's not the same guy. He's more of a personality in ring now than he is this tremendous worker, this super snug and vicious striker that brought him to legend. I think there's a lot of what Kenta brings is the reputation of what he used to be. I think he picks his spots. I don't think he cares that much anymore. I think he really picks his spots when it's time to work on, and he didn't pick it here. He went through some motions. This is what it was. And I think this is what Kenta is now. And I don't think that it's such a controversial take. Because, I think I did surprise some people when I said that. But I didn't feel... I thought everyone was sort of clued in on it. And we were like, well, yeah. Kenta's not who he used to be. And it's okay. And he's changed his style and what he does to continue to be able to... at least, deliver wrestling matches and make a living. And that's fine. For everything that he's done in his career, he should be able to continue to have a career. I'm okay with it all. He's not a terrible pro wrestler, don't get me wrong. He hasn't, devolved into goo or anything. But people are like, oh, this was amazing. I don't know. I wouldn't call it amazing. And I've seen Fred Rosser have better matches than this. That's all right. That's fine. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, work was there. There was just no inspiration to it. Little long. Little on the long side. New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team title match also occurred. The Motor City Machine Guns defeated the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Starts off hot. Stereo stalling suplexes by the West Coast Wrecking Crew. And they have a pretty extended heat segment with Alex Shelley being the babyface in peril here. Chris Sabin, when he gets in, he is a house of fire. Get the flying crossbody and double teams. Open window dive by the Motor City Machine Guns. Combo flatliner missile dropkick as well. The Wrecking Crew do a Spicoli driver on knees, which was really cool. But the Machine Guns hit the Dream Sequence, cutter by Sabin, Dirt Bomb for the win. Solid match, well worked. It was all right. I'll be honest, I kind of expected Nelson and Isaacs, Jorel Nelson and Royce Isaacs, to turn it up a little more, because these guys are very good. They're a staple of the West Coast scene quite a bit on the independents. Prestige quite a bit. They've had some really slapping matches, but so I was excited for this because the Machine Guns rule. Maybe I was a little disappointed. Like, again, not a bad match, but under-delivered to my expectations. Loser leaves New Japan Pro Wrestling. The loser leaves New Japan Pro Wrestling. And who is the loser? Jay White. He got knocked the fuck out by Eddie Kingston. And have you ever lived through two distinctly different emotions at once? Like you're having them both at once. Getting into this match, this is what I was feeling, right? I was feeling both. Jay White is absolutely leaving. And on the other was like, there is no way Eddie Kingston, a non-New Japan signed contract guy, is kicking Jay White out of New Japan. And yet I believed both of those things firmly. Isn't that weird? Because the more I was thinking about it on Saturday, the less it made sense that Eddie Kingston be the guy to retire Jay White from New Japan. The more I thought about it, the less it made sense. He's not signed to the company. He's on a per appearance basis. Why would it be him? Why wouldn't it be Hiroshi Tanahashi? Why wouldn't it be El Fantasmo? Anyone else who's actually under contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling? Tama Tonga. No, it was Eddie Kingston. I was shocked and not shocked. I'm telling you, like, maybe there's medication for what I'm feeling. White starts this match off stalling, of course, but Eddie Kingston lands a chop. Jay White chops the throat. Eddie Kingston drags White down with some headbutts, lariats, DDT by Jay White and a spinning suplex, exploder by Eddie Kingston, who chops White over and over again. Jay White lands a flatliner. He drops a German suplex on Eddie Kingston, who gets back up, but no, he's rocked. You think he's going all fighting spirit, but no, he collapses again. I think a bit of a Kawada nod, if I'm not mistaken. Uranagi by Jay White. White has a black eye and a busted lip at this point. You get some more fighting spirit between the dudes. And I will always say that Jay White, when he gets into strong style fighting spirit, when they chop each other, they do the chop challenges, Jay White is always, he can never like completely stand toe to toe. Like everyone is tougher than him in these circumstances and he always collapses and it's great. Machine gun chops by Eddie Kingston. Jay White reverses, gives him some of his own. Half and half by Jay White. Blade Runner is avoided. The ref is distracted. We get a low blow and a Blade Runner that connects, but Eddie Kingston rolls out of the ring. Crowd is on their feet at this point. Back in the ring, Eddie Kingston lands a back fist. Jay White kicks out. Eddie Kingston offers up a respect bump, fist bump. Goes like this. Eddie Kingston spits on him. Not Eddie Kingston, Jay White spits on him. So Eddie fights back with some back fists, 2 Northern Lights bombs. Eddie Kingston pins Jay White clean as a whistle. Great match. Absolutely great. I enjoyed it from top to bottom. Drama, violence, no monologues. No, seriously, great stuff. And I was bewildered and yet not surprised. I can't put that over enough. Eddie Kingston hits the bricks. He wants to give Jay White the entire time to celebrate. Dave Finlay runs in as Jay White is about to talk, because I thought what Jay White was going to do was do what Jay White has always done in North America, grabs a mic, boom, 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 and gives the impression he's about to start a promo, but then drops the mic and hits the bricks. But no, he stays in the ring as Dave Finlay attacks him from behind with a shillelagh and lays out White, and he grabs the microphone and cuts a fierce promo about how he's jealous of everything Jay has, how he's always an outsider. I'm in America, I'm Irish. I'm in Japan, I'm American. I never belong. And don't forget, this is what's the fun thing about this being full circle is that Jay and Dave came up at the same time as young lions. They graduated from the same class, I guess. Jay's trajectory has been a supernova in regards to Dave Finlay's. So Jay White is leaving New Japan absolutely in the most old school way possible, laying down on his back, transferring to heat onto a guy the company needs. The guy in the company that needs the heat, excuse me. I always said, I've been barking this for as long as I've been doing this. Jay White is an old school guy, and his influences are clear. I've always said he is the best old school North American heel, and he's working in Japan. And now it's all transferred onto Dave Finlay. Now, is Dave Finlay the guy? I don't know. Dave Finlay last year had some exceptionally good matches. Great matches even. During the G1. And I'll tell you one thing. What this promo has done is generate interest in his New Japan Cup. Now, we're looking at the New Japan Cup and we're saying, well, what about Dave Finlay? Whereas a week ago, when they released the brackets, no one was going, well, what about Dave Finlay? Now we're going, well, what about Dave Finlay? So that's how you do it. And Jay, sure as hell, these guys are friends. So I'm sure Jay had no issues with this happening, being a worker, understanding how the business goes, saying, of course, Dave, my heat is yours. Is Dave Finlay the leader of Bullet Club? No, stop it. That's a whole other thing. That's going to be a whole other discourse, another set of 9 yards, which will only come full circle when we understand, when we see what Jay White does next, because that's the question, right? What is Jay White doing next? Of course, the two big answers are WWE and AEW. There's a bunch of conflicting rumors regarding Jay White. I don't know exactly how to process them. I don't know which side is up in this circumstance, very honestly, because Jay White is a worker. Jay White he knows how to make things go his way. He knows how to leak things to media and make people talk about him. The 7-year contract he signed probably turned out to be a whole bunch of horse pucky. Where does he go from here? There's news that WWE is interested in him. and he's a top priority. Whereas there's another report that also says people in the know were like, oh, we didn't even know Jay White was available. And I'm not even mad. I'm like, this just completely feels like Jay White just obfuscating everything. Like this is how the guy has always operated. And I know he's frustrated many an interviewer because he always seems to be kayfabing. And a lot of interviewers don't like wrestlers when it's time to interview. They don't like the wrestlers kayfabing them. They don't. So it all works for Jay here. But look, there are two possibilities. There are two possibilities here. WWE and AEW. And I've heard you. Oh, Jay could freelance. Why? For a fraction of the money. Why would he do that? Like, this is not... Look, I get the intent when people say, oh, Jay White could go out and freelance and just work. But it's Jay White. He is a superstar. Why would he not go to a place that can afford him? It's like saying Mercedes Moné could, run the Indies, the Midwest. No, she could, but it doesn't make sense. Why would she accept to do that? Why would Jay be suddenly like, yeah, for the next year, I'm, freelancing everywhere? When there are people who are ready to make him an interesting offer, I am convinced. And in this environment right now, Jay White can leverage, because I don't know if you've heard, there's a war going on in pro wrestling. I don't know if you heard. Jay White can leverage. Isn't this great? Aren't you happy there's a war, or at least competition? And Jay White can just go to whatever situation is best for him. Now, if he goes to WWE, we are going to see, nonetheless, I would assume, a significant change to the presentation of Jay White, but maybe not the essence of Jay White. I think there are certain instances in WWE right now under Triple H. While I do not think everything is perfect and rosy, like a lot of people like to say, is like, it's oh, Papa H, thank you for rescuing the company and all that. That I don't believe in. But there seems to be more leniency, at least with Vince gone, towards let's do something that is closer to what you are/were than trying to reinvent you into something new, right? Cody Rhodes is an excellent example of that. I think one of the reasons Cody is so over in WWE is because he doesn't talk or act or wrestle in WWE style. He feels fresh, he feels new, he feels like a novelty, and he was negotiated in that way. Kevin Owens works as he is right now as opposed to anything else they were doing with him because it is the most natural Kevin Owens possible. So there's precedence here where you can be like, well, Jay White could come in to be something very close to Jay White. Like, he couldn't be called the knife pervert, He's not going to swear. I don't know how much stalling he'll be able to do. Like, there's elements of what made Jay White that will no longer be Jay White, the spontaneity in his promos and whatnot. But I think he is a very good fit. I think he might even be a good fit in NXT. Whatever happens, he's going to be making money there. That's for sure. AEW, everyone seems to say this is the most natural fit because he's got history with a bunch of people there, so on and so forth, and that also might be a deterrent. And you remember last week on the Dynamite review, for those of you who listened, did you listen to it? You didn't, you son of a bitch. Go and listen to it. Last week, I was talking about Adam Cole and how I'm not buying that he's going to stay a babyface. And I thought that his promo with Renee Paquette, his sit-down interview, during that interview, he was speaking in code. I feel like he was dropping hints in a very coded way. And one of the things that stuck with me is talking about the roster. He says, with a roster this stacked, I'm paraphrasing, with a roster this stacked, I have to be prepared. Adam Cole being prepared, to me, doesn't necessarily mean I'm hitting the weights. I think it means I'm going to be prepared mentally because I'm smarter than all these schmucks here. Such as bringing in friends to watch my back, such as Jay White, who, when he appeared on AEW last year, as you may recall, would refer to Adam Cole, and even elsewhere, would refer to Adam Cole as his good friend, Adam Cole. Everyone is expecting Adam Cole to have a match at Revolution. I'm expecting him to show up and fuck up someone's day, accompanied by a friend or two. A Jay White, a Kyle O'Reilly. And this is what leads into the Bullet Club speculation. Because if Jay White goes to WWE, absolutely we're getting a new leader of Bullet Club. That's without question. Despite, everyone telling me that, despite the fact that everyone telling me that WWE and New Japan have this great relationship since Shinsuke Nakamura was sent over to wrestle Keiji Muto, I don't believe there is a working relationship between WWE and New Japan, so they are not going to start using the terms Bullet Club. They would be using it on TV by now. However, Bullet Club is a thing in AEW. Let's not forget, AEW's canon is the canon of professional wrestling. And they've never shied away from talking about Bullet Club. And, if you recall last year, there were lots of stories that were supposed to happen regarding, a Bullet Club schism, right? Some unrest within Bullet Club, and it was supposed to transfer over to North America as well. And it fizzled out. It never really happened. Those rumors sort of fell apart, and we never really got, a North American version of Bullet Club as we once had in the past. So, moving on. Where does if Jay goes to AEW, I think that we can continue maybe to talk about Jay White being the leader. But I also believe that regardless of what happens, AEW, WWE, I think we are going to get a new leader of Bullet Club because Bullet Club is established in Japan. And if you don't keep the inmates in order in Japan, then everything falls apart. Who is the new leader, Warren? Is it going to be evil? I hope the hell not. I think it's El Fantasmo because he's been being groomed for this. He has been on a very similar trajectory to one Kenny Omega. I'm not saying he's a Kenny Omega type of wrestler. I'm saying that his trajectory has been very similar. He's charismatic. He's funny. He can also fucking wrestle as well as do the goofy shit. I think, look, and they graduated him from the junior division up into the heavyweights just last year. I don't think any of this is accidental. They being the booking committee, the uppers, the gatos, they really like ELP. It's been evident. Tournament wrestler, New Japan Cup of America. Remember that? Look, there's so many smoke screens right now. I will have more thoughts once Jay White ends up somewhere. And I don't know which side is better. I don't know which side is worse. For him, I know as a fan, I have my preferences. But Jay's playing this very close to the chest and being very obtuse about it and sending out smoke screens. It's just great stuff. I love this intrigue. Let's fucking go. Next, we had Tom Lawler defeating Homicide in a filthy rules fight. I don't have much to say about this. Tom Lawler, okay, here's a few things. Tom Lawler is a great professional wrestler and a great pro wrestling personality. We often have discussions about MMA guys, right, who transitioned into pro wrestling successfully. Of course, we're going to talk about Brock. We're going to talk about Bobby Lashley, but we cannot not leave Tom Lawler out of this equation. He just gets it. He has always gotten it, and he's just enjoying it more and more. He understands the absurdity and the goofiness of pro wrestling, as well as the art, the effort that goes into it. He goes when it's time to go, essentially. And this was okay. It was well worked. Homicide can still go, but it was a plunder match that you've seen time and time again. They tried to do a few things to make it feel different. They removed the ropes from around the ring to make it more violent, and they exposed the posts for extra violence, but the post spots really didn't connect. Aside the T-bone suplex by Homicide, that was pretty good. That was the best one, actually. But we get forks and not that I want people to stab themselves in the head with them, but stabbing on the foot was probably it's a little corny. There was some good stuff, right? Like there was this one sequence where there's a pair of suplexes by Homicide, which are countered by a pair of suplexes by a pair of Germans by Tom Lawler. Then a third suplex by Tom, and a third by Homicide, and a third by Tom Lawler. That was a fun little sequence. Homicide then also destroys Tom Lawler, hitting a running Spicoli driver off the ring through a door on the floor. Lawler does a diving headbutt off a ladder, and Homicide taps out to Lawler. It was okay, but it's a plunder match, and it's exactly what you imagine. A couple of good spots, but And we have the New Japan World Television title match where Zack Sabre Jr. defended successfully against Clark Connors. We get some back and forth in this match until Connors shoulder blocks Zack Sabre Jr., who goes to the floor, chops to Zack Sabre Jr. until he traps Clark Connor into a Cobra twist. And of course, Jr. starts tying him up. Clark fights back, lands a pounce. Zack Sabre Jr. lands in a standing guillotine, and that's reversed into a Northern Lights suplex by Clark Connors. We get some fighting spirit, a brain buster by Connors, and a Rings of Saturn-like move by Zack Sabre Jr. And Zack Sabre Jr. then floats over into a Boston Crab. Just great stuff. Strikes in a German with bridge, huge spear by Connors, and a power slam. Some back and forth. Power bomb by Clark Connor. Zack Sabre Jr. goes for the Euro clutch. It's blocked into a rear naked choke. Just great. A great block. And a great transition by Connors here. And the finish comes with Connors blocking Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. moves, who transitions into an ankle lock. But Zack Sabre Jr. transitions and locks in the Fujiwara armbar. And Jesus Christ, did he ever armbar the arm? Whoa, that was a nasty looking lock. Good stuff. I've really been digging these New Japan TV title defenses so far. By the way, you do not have to have bought the pay-per-view to see this match. Let us remind you that all of the world title, the TV title matches are all available for free on newjapanworld.com and their social media as well. Zack Sabre Jr., look, this is his third defense. He's been a really great champion. And these little 15-minute sprints with the 15-minute, the time limit, and you hear that counting down, it's becoming ingrained into your expectations for this match. You're like, oh shit, we're getting close to time now. It rules. Like, it all creates this tension, and the guys start working faster. And I think Clark Connors has really been coming into his own here post Young Lion. You know, the whole, what was it, Safari Hunter thing? I wasn't too sure about. Now he came out with like with a cowboy hat with danglers over his face. So I was like, this is interesting. All right, now we're talking. And I thought this was one of his most solid, if not, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, maybe his most solid match. Like, I'm trying to think of one that might have topped this. I think he had one with Ishii yeah, he had one with Ishii. That was pretty good. This was very good. I think he's really, really coming into his own and not trying to be too cutesy. He's sticking to basics, and he was able to counter Zach here as well. Just a bunch of great stuff. I'm really high on Clark Connors after this match. That was good stuff. First of our double main event. A main event is the last match that goes on last. I don't care what you say. But anyway, let's not get too controversial here, Warren, because we want to be happy. Because this match was serotonin. It was pure wonder and amazement. A Zen moment. Mercedes Moné defeated Kairi to become the new IWGP Women's Champion in a fantastic, great match. Mercedes had the match she had to have. And she delivered. She proved that she can still go, that she wasn't a flash in the pan. Let's talk about the match, get into some analysis after. First of all, we have the dancers for Moné's presentation. And I can tell you one thing, New Japan can't shoot sports entertainment. They don't know how to do it. They are excellent at creating the wrestling match feel, the sports feel. That's what they excel at, but they cannot film sports entertainment like dancers at the top of a ramp. That wasn't great, but let's move on. This match, look, little back and forth, lands into a bank statement. What does she call the bank statement now? She can't call it that anymore. I think someone on Twitter, because I tweeted out, what should she call it? I think someone called it the crypto clutch. And that made me pop. I thought that was really good. Kairi hits an arm drag and a drop kick. Big strikes by Kairi followed in a double knees by Moné, who works the arm. Single arm DDT. Hangs onto the arm through a pin attempt and slides into an arm bar. Very good stuff. They fight on the floor. There's a Del Rio spot by Kairi. We got to try and give it another name, though. Followed by an interceptor spear, sliding forearm, and flying forearm as well. Kairi's all over. But then Mercedes fights back with a meteor off the apron. Then a meteor in the ring. Kairi hits a back fist and into a cutter. Then she locks in the anchor submission move. And Moné is struggling. Mercedes is struggling to get out of this one. Kairi is leaning back. She's bringing her back into the middle of the ring. Good situation here. But then Mercedes gets into it, locks in a bank statement, or as we're saying in the chat here, a Moné maker. Mercedes runs into the deadliest cutlass back fist of all fucking time. Mercedes keeps Kairi from climbing up to do the insane elbow, and she hits a Bailey to belly, which everyone popped huge for. And that's when we all realized that Bailey was in the audience, which fucking rules. It didn't cut to Bayley. There was there were pictures being shared on social media. Bayley was in the audience watching this match. Three Amigos follows. The last one is reversed into a brain buster by Kairi. And she's on the attack, but Mercedes pulls the ref in front of Kairi for a ref bump. And Kairi is sort of looking at her and she's like, did you just do that? Why would you do that? As if it is completely out of place, right? I think an underappreciated moment of storytelling / psychology in this match, where Kairi is shocked because Mercedes is pulling sports entertainment moves on her, where she's like, why are you doing this? Because that's literally Kairi's expression. She doesn't understand why she did it. It's like, didn't you want to get away from this bullshit, Sasha? Why are you doing this? So Kairi's like, all right, you want to play this? Let's fucking go. So she drags Mercedes up the ramp. They fight it out there on the floor next to the ramp, and Kairi drops Mercedes, power bombs her through a table, off a riser through a table. Back in the ring, the insane elbow attempt follows, but Mercedes lifts up her feet. Kairi eats the feet right in the mush. Mercedes goes up for a frog splash, knees up by Kairi, who locks in a crossface. Mercedes bites her way out and lands the move that she botched at Wrestle Kingdom that didn't look good, but she landed perfectly here. The Moné maker. Kind of like a widow's peak into a spinning front face slam. I don't know how you'd call it exactly. Mercedes wins. Fantastic match. Fantastic, great match. Match of the night for me. Look, like I said, as I was entering this part of the discussion, there was so much writing on this match for Mercedes Moné, because this was her first match since leaving WWE. Could she deliver in a top situation on her own dime, her own brand name? She sold her star power to New Japan. So New Japan got a taste of that star power when they had all these people flooding Wrestle Kingdom this year. They saw her star power when she sold out Battle in the Valley once her name was announced. Place went nuts when she came out. Place went nuts when she won. Internet exploded. People who've never watched a New Japan show in their life were watching this. And you know out there, my audience, my top tier audience. I am the D-list podcaster. You are the A+ audience. You know, because you are smart and brilliant. You know that there were WWE people, fans out there just wringing their hands, waiting for this match to happen so they could shit all over Sasha if she fucked up. She was trash anyway. She was never any good. You know they were waiting for that. And I will admit, I breathed an extreme sigh of relief when this match finished. And I was like, this was so fucking great. Because Sasha had to deliver a great match. There was no two ways about it. She had to deliver a great match here, and she did. Was Kairi a perfect partner for her? Yes, because they both worked the same style, and Kairi, if anything, a little more seasoned than Mercedes as far as different styles, international styles. She could help Mercedes out in a pickle. I didn't see many pickles here. Mercedes carried more than carried her own weight more than enough. And like I said during the match, you had these moments where you still recognize Sasha Banks. These little, the ref bump and all this nonsense, and you're like, okay, You can take her out of the Fed, but there's still going to be, this is intrinsic to her. She's still going to do whatever it takes to win. She's a rudo. And I think Mercedes Moné is probably really happy at the concept. If she were to listen to me right now and I was going to say, Mercedes, you're a rudo right now, she'll be like, yeah, thanks. That rules. Because this is what she's in for. This is what she wants to do. She's a wrestling nerd. She's like us. She watches tape. She marks out when she goes to Ribera, gets her jacket. What are we doing? There was a lot writing on this, but not just on Mercedes Moné herself. This was also proof that was required from New Japan, that they do indeed have plans to treat this title seriously, their division seriously. This was a 25-minute match. 26, almost 27 minutes, according to Cage Match. We got an excellent tournament final between Mayu and Kairi. That was great. Got a 6-minute match at Wrestle Kingdom that everyone thought was curious. I was like, wait, are we taking this shit seriously or not? Well, I think this was also required as a fan. I needed to see New Japan get behind this title. I think this is clear now. And I think New Japan is even more confident in the title, in promoting a division, knowing that they did the right choice by bringing Mercedes Moné in, getting Bushiroad to foot the bill. They made the right decision because as it stands right now, there is economics to back up everything that she's been doing so far. Now, if she continues down this path and delivers extraordinary matches every time, on top of it, one of the better investments that New Japan will have done, unquestionably. Of course, this will be a tale that we will wrap up in a year and so on, whenever this deal expires. Let's have this conversation again. And trust me, we will. We will keep abreast on this, and we'll talk about the quality of Sasha's matches, as well as the performance indicators that she will be influencing throughout it all. But look, sold out show, entirely based on her name value only. She was the only match announced. She and Kairi. Place gets sold out. Now you can make an argument that the place would have probably been sold out the minute they announced Kazuchika Okada versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, and I can support that. Sure, but they didn't do it that way, so there's no point in arguing that because they announced the Mercedes match first. The Mercedes match sold the building out. That's all you need to know at this point. So, sure, yes, absolutely. Kazuchika Okada versus Hiroshi Tanahashi would have filled out the building. Yes, absolutely. But it is a moot point. Speaking of which, main event. Okada successfully retained the IWGP World Heavyweight title against Hiroshi Tanahashi. And look, it's as good as a start as you think this match would be. Okada drop kicks Tanahashi off the top turnbuckle and they fight to the floor, DDT in the ring. And Kazuchika Okada is such an asshole these days. And I am digging it. Like, I love a good baby face Kazuchika Okada, don't get me wrong. But he is such an asshole right now. And I am just loving it. And he was an asshole to Tanahashi, who hits a senton, dragon screw, high fly flow on the floor, flapjack by Kazuchika Okada, backpack neck breaker as well, then locks in the money clip, but Hiroshi Tanahashi fights back, tiger suplex, and a sling blade, high fly flow, goes back up for a second one, but Okada brings up the knees. Never a successful, not never, the success percentage of Hiroshi Tanahashi hitting 2 consecutive high fly flows is very low. It's never all that great. I don't think it's a great percentage. He'll hit one, go for a second one, and the second one screws him up. And that's what happens here. They slug it out. Shotgun dropkick by Okada. Hiroshi Tanahashi runs into another dropkick. We get an Emerald Flosion by Okada. Aces high by Tanahashi. But no, excuse me. Aces high? No. Anti-aired is Hiroshi Tanahashi here. He gets dropkicked by Okada, who hits the Enziguri. Cobra Emerald Flosion, Rainmaker, another fantastic match by these two guys who could not have a bad match together. Now, is this one of their better matches? Of course not. No. There are much better Okada Tanahashi matches, but this, I'm not trying to be demeaning here. This was very good. This was a very, very good match. But when your bar is this high, everything else is, it's like, wow, this is still better than a lot of stuff that was on the card tonight. There's nothing more to say here. Really good main event. I think I liked it less than a lot of people did. I still thought it was very good, but there's a lot of people who, look, it's Tanahashi and Okada. This is, I've heard people comparing it to Steamboat Flair, and I think that's absolutely fair. This is like a match of legend. It's a pairing where that never fails and always delivers. Famous rivals and whatnot. And what's going to happen? Well, after the match here, Okada cuts a very good English promo. His English has gotten very good. Cuts an English promo about how he and Tanahashi should team up to go after IWGP Gold, which is currently held by Bishamon, Okada's faction mates, Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. And it turns out it's going to happen. They're going to challenge for the IWGP tag titles on March 6th. And I mean, I don't think Okada and Tanahashi are winning the tag titles. And I think this is an effort to get Bishamon more credible wins. It is what it is. But I think the bigger story here is that, after a bit of a promo, Mercedes Moné comes back out, music and all, to celebrate with Okada. She cuts a little bit of a weird promo. I mean, that's never been her strong suit. A little bit, but, it's all right. It's fine. She teases a mixed tag match, I think. She gets Okada bopping to her theme too, where he's, she's holding up her belt and she's grooving. So Okada's like, all right, which was adorable. Let's put it that way. And the champions pose together at the end. And look, if they're setting the stage for some kind of mixed tag situation, I'm cool with it. That could be a lot of fun. Another crossover match. Another crossover pay-per-view. Let's fucking go. Look, I enjoyed the show. Tremendous. I think there's a lot of good stuff on it. There's nothing outright bad. Maybe some things didn't connect as well, but the work was all there. And overall, especially the latter half of the pay-per-view, the openers, the multi-man matches, they are what they are. But look, you have to go out of your way to see Mercedes and Kyrie. I think it is a great match. Is it a match of the year? Let me think about it. But it is a great match. And I think there's something very historically significant about it as well. It should be part of your repertoire as a wrestling fan. Eddie Kingston and Jay White was remarkable, was extremely good as well. The TV title match was great. The main event was a lot of fun. There's a lot to like on this card. Good show. I enjoyed it. And just before we wrap up all of these shenanigans this week, because y'all know I was very, very excited at the prospect of the match between Kazuchika Okada and Kaito Kiyomiya at Keiji Muto's retirement show, which happened, well, earlier today as I'm recording this on the 21st of February. Now, because life stuff happens, I could not watch the whole thing. I did watch the double main event, though. I was able to squeeze that in. And I'm going to try. Well, I'm not going to try. I am going to watch the rest of the show. Jesus, I paid for it. I'm going to watch the rest of the show. But I'm also going to, I'm going to try and review it. Maybe I'll do a little audio. I don't know yet. I'll see how that goes. But as it stands right now, look. The main event, Naito, Keiji Muto, went almost 30 minutes. And as I'm saying this, and if you haven't seen it, you're probably groaning and going, oh, Jesus Christ. A 30-minute Keiji Muto match. But you know what? I enjoyed this match a lot more than I expected. This was a spectacular retirement match for one of the legitimate, true to form, all-time legends of pro wrestling. And it will not get better than this. Naito was absolutely the perfect dance partner for him here. And Muto worked so hard in this match that I was even taken aback. Like, this was very good. And of course, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. We're doing some mat work. We're doing a lot of leg work because, look, Muto, a couple of times, gassed as hell. Like, he is heaving. He's heaving so hard, it's echoing off the top of the Tokyo Dome. But everything connected. Everything felt logical and smart, and there were a great story was told in this match. Muto dropping all sorts of throwbacks to some of the old guard, Mashimoto, just guys who never had a proper retirement, never had the chance to have what he has. Might have softened me on old grumpy Uncle Keiji here. Naito was spectacular. Carried the whole thing. It just worked. So I really liked it. Of course, then there's there was another main event, a surprise main event where Masahiro Chono, who was on commentary for the match here, went in to fight, have his last singles match as well, defeating Keiji Muto. And Tiger Hattori just happened to be there as well. So he reffed the match. So we're having like a pure New Japan situation here on a Noah card. I thought this was pretty funny. I mean, it's ultimately like the match barely lasted 2 minutes, I think. So it's not a match, but it got the crowd into it. Well, the crowd was into it. What am I talking about? It didn't get them into it. They were already into it. They were into all of this. This Tokyo Dome crowd, brother. And just before that, we had the Okada Kiyomiya match, which was amazing. It was so good. You know what I was telling you earlier? We were talking earlier about how much of an asshole Kazuchika Okada's been recently. He was a proper asshole. Don't forget, this all started because he wasn't giving Kiyomiya the time of day at the crossover show, the Noah show at Wrestle Kingdom Night 2, they like to call it, right? He wasn't giving him the night of day, the time of day. So Kiyomiya took his matters into his own hands. And even after that, Okada was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I don't have time to go fight him. I am the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. I have to carry the sport of pro wrestling on my back. I don't have time for this punk. Doesn't show up at the press conference, but then shows up in Osaka to beat up Kiyomiya. Like he was a proper heel here. If you're a Noah fan, a Noah loyalist, you're like, fuck this Kazu. Fuck this guy. Kiyomiya was like, let's break the 30-minute time limit. I want to go until, I know I can go as long as Okada can. And Okada's like, what are you talking about, kid? And that was the story of this match. What are you talking about, kid? You are not on my level. And there were moments where Kiyomiya was like, I am going to beat the shit out of you. And I might have the upper hand here. But Okada always had a fucking answer. All throughout, he just beat the shit out of him. He just beat consistently. Even in moments where Kiyomiya is pulling out shining wizards right and left. It's Kiyomiya at some point blocks a Rainmaker with a shining wizard. And the Tiger Suplex. The crowd is unglued. They're going nuts for this. This is how the match finishes. And this you will understand the entire story of this match just with this finish. Kiyomiya goes for a shining wizard, gets countered into a landslide by Okada, hits the Rainmaker, covers, but Okada breaks up the pin. Crowd is livid. He lifts him up. Him being Okada lifts up Kiyomiya, lands an Enziguri, Cobra Flosion, another Rainmaker, and then he covers him. So essentially, he's telling Kiyomiya, look, I beat you twice tonight. I chose to beat you twice, and I did it. You could do nothing about it. And he just leaves. He grabs the belt and dashes to the pay window. He is gone. He's not celebrating. He said it. I don't have time for this shit. And he did, 16 minutes was this match. Didn't even go 30. Didn't even go 20. It was about 30-minute time limit. Took half the time for Okada to pin the dude twice. I think this is brilliant stuff. And if New Japan and Noah continue to play nice, we have got ourselves a story of the ages brewing here, where Kiyomiya wants to get better, wants to improve. He has his final boss now. He has his arch enemy, his arch rival. It is Kazuchika Okada. Yes, maybe when I was young, I bit off a little more than I could chew. But I've changed. I'm better prepared. I'm ready for you. And we could turn this into a series. Like, we could see this year, if we wanted, if everyone involved wanted, we could have another Noah New Japan crossover show and rematch this. And do you have Kiyomiya win this one and then we go for a rubber match? Or does Okada win again, but Kiyomiya lasts longer and comes closer to a victory, and we need a third time maybe for the charm, or a fourth time? You see what I'm talking about here? We have a possibility here to really make a superstar out of the supernova. And it's really exciting to think that this is a distinct and true and possible situation, especially if no titles are involved. If Kiyomiya doesn't have a title, because I think that muddied the waters in this decision, don't get me wrong, despite the fact that New Japan has the high ground in Japanese professional wrestling these days, so they can dictate whatever the hell they want. So if you sit down and you want to negotiate and you want to do stuff, and you're like, well, look, we're going to do this, but our guy goes over your guy. Well, I don't know. No, our guy goes over your guy. No? All right. Well, our guy's not going. You know? And this was all built off of the best angle I saw this year. No, it's not the bloodline. That work shoot that they pulled is probably one of the most effective I've seen in a while. And this story is not even done. This story, this pro wrestling story between between Kazuchika Okada and Kaito Kiyomiya, the Rainmaker and the Supernova, it is not done yet. There is more gasoline in this tank. We have only started to scratch this one. And right now, the situation in Japan, with all these promotions working together, because this event, the Noah Kaijimuto Grand Final Pro Wrestling Last Love Holdout Match, that's the name of the event, had promotions from all over Japan represented. Dragon Gate, All Japan, TJPW, because here's the main difference between Japanese pro wrestling and North American is that here there's a war. No, but seriously, everyone wants to put everyone else out of business. When I keep hearing about how Vince McMahon was the best thing to happen to pro wrestling, Vince McMahon was the best thing to happen to WWE, the state of pro wrestling, ever since WCW petered out, has been dismal in North America. Only one survived. That is not good for pro wrestling. That is good for WWE, but it is not good for pro wrestling. Japan, all of the promotions suffered during the pandemic without the crowds, with the semi-capacity crowds afterwards, trying to get it back into it. They have all suffered. So what did they do? They decided to band together. We're like, look, we have got to start doing shows together again. We've got to start making stuff happen again together. This is what, like the second or third crossover show? I'm drawing a blank. But there's going to be more. There's going to continue to be crossover between the promotions because they feel like when the water level rises, all the boats follow suit. I don't remember what the expression is, but you get the visual. The water level rises, so everyone, everything everyone else does. Instead of just one person trying to make the most out of it, everyone's gunning for a healthy pro wrestling environment in Japan. And that's special right now. And who is going to win in this situation? Ultimately, the fans. Because then we get treated to stuff like Hiromu and his All-Star Junior Festival in 2 weeks, which is another crossover show. Because then we get matches and situations that break out of the norm, have people that we don't usually fight, that we don't usually see fight each other. This is exciting shit. And these two matches, I'm excited to watch the rest of the card now. I hear it's very good. This show is another example of that. It is fantastic. Everyone should benefit from this. Pro wrestling should benefit from it. Puroresu is back, baby. There's never been it has been too long. Let me put it this way instead. It has been too long since we've been excited about Japanese pro wrestling. And who's making Japanese pro wrestling exciting again? The promotions, the promoters. They're working together. They're making shit happen. This is fun. Remember, fun? This is fun. So I'm going to watch the rest of the show, but I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, if you can, you need to get into the Okada Kiyomiya story. I promise you, get in when the going's hot. Be there from the opening gate. Go back and watch the angle, how it all started. Watch this match. Go out of your way to see it. Get into it. Because there's politics and in it. Everything can get into the way. This isn't a done deal, but this has all the makings of a legendary event, of a legendary angle. And I am stoked for it. And on that note, we shall wrap up the weekly wrestling inspection. So, folks, well, we're going to wrap everything up. We're going to say goodbye, good night, and it's bang. That was rehearsed. We're going to wrap everything up for tonight, folks, but I want to thank everyone for coming out and joining me tonight. I want to thank everyone for being extremely kind with the birthday wishes today. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you all so very much. I will be back Thursday for the Dynamite review, and keep your peepers peeped, because this weekend I will very likely have an AEW Revolution 2023 preview show up my sleeve. Keep your eyes on that. The best way to not miss that is to subscribe to the Mr. Warren Hayes channel on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or on your favorite audio feed from your favorite podcast application, because the Mr. Warren Hayes show is there as well. Consider giving a like, a subscription here, or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating on Spotify. All of that helps. Thank you all, everyone, for joining me this evening. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you next time.